Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Yes, good morning. Please proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. When we achieve human rights and human dignity for all people, they will build a peaceful, sustainable, and just world. Good afternoon. I, Neetal Agrawal, student of LLB third year, extend the greetings on behalf of Marathwada Legal and General Education Society's MANIKCHAND PAHADE Law College, Aurangabad. I welcome you all for today's online special lecture organized by Avishkar Research Club on the topic, which is Slogan for Human Rights Day, Dignity, Freedom and Justice for All. To mark the eve of World Human Rights Day and to embrace this remarkable day, we have with us Dr. Naresh Waghmare sir, Professor of Law at Savitribai Phule Pune University. Moving ahead, I now humbly request Dr. Aparna Kotapalle ma'am, IQAC and Research Club Coordinator, to deliver welcome address, followed by a brief introduction of today's event. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nathan. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to respected Professor Waghmare sir. Waghmare sir is our friend, and he is a very respectable person in the legal fraternity, as we all know, and we feel very fortunate that you are there amongst us, sir. I, on behalf of MP Law College family, welcome you. I also welcome all the intellectuals and academicians who have joined this event for the intellectual deliberations and discussions. I welcome student participants, especially in this particular event. I hope this event will be one way mind-blowing for we all, and it will galvanize the thoughts amongst us. I welcome everyone for this event, online lecture on Human Rights Day, which is being organized by the Avishkar Research Club of MP Law College. Let me begin, while introducing the event, let me begin to speak a little bit about Avishkar Research Club, which was established in the academic year 2010-11. Since then till now, this club has rigorously worked to train our students on the research methods. Earlier, it was not there in the course content for the UG students, but then now it has been introduced. But along with shaping students on research methods, this club provides them the platform on various academic and research endeavors. Since beginning, that is since 2010-11 academic year till now, each year, Research Club of this college celebrates Human Rights Day. Basically, this celebration is intended to inculcate the sensitivity as well as awareness amongst the students and even amongst other participants about various facets, various dimensions of human rights. In earlier times, when just lectures when were arranged on this day, we had a dialogue discussion with advocates, human rights activists like Advocate Asim Sarode, who had delivered. I am reminded with the first lecture wherein he had delivered the speech on role of advocates in protecting human rights. Then thereafter, Honorable, the then CP of Aurangabad was with us, and he had delivered a speech on role of police in protection of human rights. And then the journey of celebration of human rights began with more enthusiasm, with more and more participants, students' participation, with which we had organized seminars, conferences, regional, state, national, as well as international also, wherein various themes till now we have covered, including right to water, right to shelter, role of judiciary, then farmer suicide. So many issues till now we have taken a note of, and we have taken into consideration for the rather opening the discussion and deliberation on this particular various dimensions rather on the human rights. when I was discussing about prima facie about this particular special lecture with Honorable Professor Waghmare sir, he was inclined to discuss about the role of United Nations in the overall development of, and rather the foundation of this human rights. But then instead of just talking about the role of human rights being performed through United Nations organization, let us consider more large area that came from Honorable Professor Waghmare sir, and now he would be discussing with all of us about the dignity, freedom, and justice. So let me once again welcome Honorable Professor Waghmare sir and all the participants, all the august gathering for this special online lecture. And I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to welcome and introduce the event. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Moving ahead, I would like to invite and give over the charge to Ms. Tejaswini Modi, who would introduce our today's resource person. Over to you, Tejaswini.
Thank you, Nathan. What a wonderful sight when everyone is treated right. With this quote, I, Tejaswini Mune, student of BLLB 5th year, welcome everyone for the special lecture on theme Dignity, Freedom and Justice for All on the eve of World Human Rights organized by MANIKCHAND Pahade Law College. We are honored to have Dr. Naresh Waghmare, Savitribai Phule University, to guide us on this topic. Sir has completed his BSL LLB in 2000 from ILS Law College, Pune, LLM from Department of Law, University Pune, NET, UGC, New Delhi, PhD, Right to Establish and Administer Educational Institutions in India, Constitutional and Judicial Imperatives. He is a coordinator of Human Rights Education, SPPU, Pune since 2018, member of Board of Studies Law since 2018, member of Internal Committee, SPPU. He has a teaching experience of over 20 years at postgraduate level. He has contributed for drafting LLM syllabus in 2006, 2013, 2022. He has participated in various workshops and seminars as a resource person. Published more than 26 papers and articles in law journals and seminar proceedings. He is a research guide for LLM and PhD. And the work and achievements for Sir has no end. With this, I thank organizers for giving me the opportunity to introduce our guests.
Nitin, you may proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Tejaswini. Moving ahead, without any further ado, I take this honor to invite our resource person for the day, who is such a dynamic persona and has endless achievements to his name. Without any delay, I call upon Dr. Naresh Waghmare, sir, Professor of Law at Savitribai University, Pune, to address the gathering on our today's topic, dignity, freedom, and justice for all. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, student coordinators, for introducing me on this occasion of a special lecture on dignity, freedom, and justice for all. And I take this opportunity to thank Ma'am Dr. Kotapalle also for inviting me for this 2 days lecture, and that too on my favorite theme and the subject, which is very core of the human rights laws in India, especially. So the topic, the theme for Human Rights Day celebration is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. These three keywords have a lot of significance and importance in the area of rights and the laws, and especially here the judiciary is concerned. Now, why do we celebrate this 10th December? Any reason for this? Any student? Why do we celebrate 10th December as Human Rights Day? The day we celebrate as Human Rights Day because on this day, in the year of 1948, General Assembly of the United Nations adopted Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is popularly known as UDHR. Okay, so here the 10th December 1948, on this date, General Assembly of the United Nations International Organization adopted Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So this universal in nature across the borders to all, this is declared. Universal declaration is a declaration, definitely, that is declared as such human rights. So here the next question comes when we say that on this day UDHR was adopted by the international organization. Okay, of course, this is what we can say the bindingness, irrespective of the bindingness of this UDHR. We need to understand its significance and the importance. When we talk about human rights, the first and foremost document which comes before us, that is UDHR. The preamble and its 30 articles. So there are, it consists, UDHR, it consists of its preamble. As we know, that is a very, every document, it has some objectives. With certain objectives, here certain articles were made in this UDHR. So whenever you have some time, please go through these things, preamble of the UDHR and its 30 articles. This UDHR, it talks basically of rights. So as being students of law and jurisprudence, one need to understand what is this concept of right. Any idea? What is this idea of rights? We are law students. Any idea of right? Concept, what is the concept of right? Yes, please. We talk many things about rights, adhikar. The proper word is what? Haqq. And this is human rights, manavi haqq. So Professor Pound, he defined right. Right is nothing but an interest. It is an interest. It is a desire. ये दिल मांगे मोर, क्या मांगता है? हमें क्या चाहिए? We want these things. So basically, right is nothing but an interest or a desire, a want, our wish, and right, basically, it is an interest which is recognized by law. So this de facto claims, these are converted into new forms as rights. De facto claims, our wants, our desires, when these are recognized by law, then they become rights. So recognition is very important. For example, here there are certain fundamental rights under the Constitution of India, fundamental rights. There are various types of rights, legal rights, fundamental rights. Okay, in jurisprudence, we study natural rights. Now we are discussing here the human rights. So basically, right, which is nothing but an interest which is recognized by the law, which is protected by the law, which is enforced by the law. So here, according to Professor Pound, right is nothing but an interest which is recognized, protected, and enforced by law. Once this is clear, then we have to go further. What are these human rights? Who are entitled with these human rights? The theme that we talk about here, the dignity, freedom, justice for all. Are these human rights? So, what are these human rights? Whatever enumerated under the UDHR, we can also include many things within this scope of human rights. But as far as the UDHR is concerned, whatever here enumerated as rights, human rights, under this document, these are the human rights. Now, the fundamental rights under the Indian Constitution, these are also human rights. So it is generally said that fundamental rights are human rights, but all human rights are not fundamental rights. That is another area of discussion. So our constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, it has recognized certain human rights under part 3 and part 4. If you see the sequence, UDHR, which was adopted in the year of 1948, after just the declaration, we framed our constitution adopted in the year of 1949 and which commenced in the year of 1950. So 1948, 1949, 1950, if you see that a lot of things we see reflected in our Indian Constitution. So here the human rights, as we know, the fundamental rights are available to, certain fundamental rights are available to citizens and all certain for citizens, for persons. So human rights, these are available to all. All are entitled with these human rights. Why? See, as you know, that is under Indian Constitution, here the citizens, only citizens, they have certain fundamental rights. But here, as far as human rights are concerned, these human rights are guaranteed to all human beings. The reason is only this: you are human beings. That is the only reason. Being human, human beings are entitled to these human rights. So that the concept of right, then human rights, how these are related to our fundamental rights. Once we have discussed this, then we have to see the theme, that is the dignity. Is there dignity anywhere in our laws? Yes? Has it any place? Yes, it is there. It is there in the preamble of Indian Constitution. We find that is we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic, and secure to all its citizens was justice, social, economic, and political. Then we define liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Then further, equality of status and of opportunity. And we find that the fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual. Fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual. So here is the dignity. The preamble, it assures the dignity of the individual. If you say that for what purpose the laws are made, what is the basic function of the law? The basic function of the law is to protect the individuals, to protect protection of the individuals, and especially who needs the laws, they are the weakers who may be exploited by certain things. So here, law protects every individual against exploitation. So we do find here the protection of human dignity in the preamble, and that too, that is there in Article 21, that is a right to life. And the Supreme Court very clearly declared that the right to life doesn't mean animal life or animal existence. Right to life with human dignity. So the whole object of this preamble and the Constitution and the legal system is to protect here the human dignity of the individuals. So dignity is of supreme importance. And if we look at our own life in day-to-day life, everyone is expected to be treated in a dignified way. Respect, izzat, pratishtha, or some kind of here what we can say the status as such. So all things, no one would like to be treated inhumanly. Everyone, it is said that is a big or small, human rights for all. Okay, so everyone wants to be treated here in a dignified way to improve the quality of life, to improve the quality of life, standard of life. I'm not talking about standard of living. I'm talking about here the standard of life is. So mere having certain positions that would not make you dignified as such. So this dignity is protected, recognized by guaranteeing certain fundamental rights, which are nothing but the civil and political rights, and directive principles of the state policy. These are nothing but the socio-economic and cultural rights of the individuals. So the dignity that is of more importance according to the constitutional the framers as such, assuring the dignity of the individual. If the assurance is made by this preamble to have the dignified life. Then liberty. What is this liberty or freedom? The second concept which is involved in this theme is the freedom, liberty. The preamble states that liberty of thought, expression, belief, and faith, and worship. These five words we define. The freedom, freedom of speech, expression, liberty of thoughts, what to think, what not to think, liberty of speech and expression, faith, belief, worship. So as far as the freedom of thoughts, speech and expression is concerned, that is guaranteed under Article 19. And here the liberty of belief, faith, here the belief and faith, these are active, passive things. And here the worship, these are to whom to worship. All these things we do find under Article 25, 26, 27 as such. So this is not the objectives which were made by the Constitution, but also it has provided certain provisions in the Constitution. And to enforce these, we do find Article 32, right to move to the Supreme Court directly to enforce here these fundamental rights. So what is liberty basic? Or what is freedom? There are two concepts. One, the negative concept, which means absence of interference by the government. Freedom means absence of interference by the government. That is the negative. And the positive concept, what we do find in terms of, that is, these are the essentials for the development of the individuals and of the nations, which we say that the right to freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, and the worship, and these are there provided under various articles of the Indian Constitution. So when we talk about rights as such, which is recognized, and while recognizing certain rights, law recognizes, basically law recognizes certain interest. And while recognizing, it also places certain limitations on the exercise of the right. So here the two have rights, and to exercise those rights, we have right to freedom of speech and expression. That doesn't mean you talk anything. There are certain reasonable restrictions which enables others to exercise the same kind of right as such. So these restrictions, of course, we do find under Article 19, under Article 25. When we read Article 25, it begins with the restrictions subject to public order, public health, isn't it? Public morality. So these are certain restrictions. In short, no right is absolute one. No right is absolute one. That means there are the certain rights which, what do we say? There are the limitations on these exercise of. Fundamental rights are what? Fundamental rights are nothing but the another aspect, what I am talking about. Fundamental rights are nothing but the limitations on the exercise of the powers of the government. It may be in the form of legislative power, administrative power, or here the judicial power as such. So we find there are the limitations on the rights, there are the limitations on the governmental power as well in the form of these fundamental rights. So no right is absolute one. There are the limitations. And these rights, we the people of India must exercise with responsibility. With responsibility. So every right comes with responsibility. Every power of the government that comes with responsibility. Otherwise, there would be no meaning of rights as such. So when we talk about the justice, another term, justice for all. What do you mean by justice? Any idea? जस्टिस के बारे में हम बात करते हैं न्याय न्याय यानी क्या व्हाट इज जस्टिस यस
When we talk in preamble about justice, just not on the basis of one ground, but on various aspects like social, economic, political. In all spheres, we are talking about justice in this society to live.
very good so here justice is not this concept of justice under the Indian constitution is not merely confined to the legal justice which is administered or delivered in the courts of law. So this concept is not limited concept. न्याय म्हणजे फक्त कोर्टामध्ये मिळेल तो न्याय असं नाहीये. So here the justice we do find that is the social justice, economic justice and political justice. Isn't it? But what is basically justice? What is this concept of justice? The laws are there. The laws are there. The laws are meant to deliver here the justice. And justice means nothing but here the harmonization of interests. Harmonization of interest. Balancing of interest. Balancing of competitive, conflicting interest. So as we know, there are the two parties, they have certain dispute. That means both have certain interest and these interests to be balanced. Balancing is done by the law. And when this fine balance is maintained, that is nothing but here the justice. So here the justice means harmonization of interest and the preamble places justice higher than the other principles of liberty, equality and fraternity. Justice न्यायाला किती महत्व दिलं आहे हे भारतीय संविधानाच्या प्रस्तावनेमध्ये तुम्हाला दिसतं प्रस्तावनामध्ये दिसतंय. See, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens काय आलंय सुरुवातीला justice. जस्टिसला किती महत्व आहे जस्टिस ते पण सोशल इकॉनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल जस्टिस म्हटल्यानंतर अगोदर लिबर्टी पण घेता येत असते फ्रॅटर्निटी पण इक्वॅलिटी पण डिस्कस करता आली असते फ्रॅटर्निटी पण डिस्कस करता आली असते पण अगोदर सर्वात महत्व जास्त दिलं असेल तर जस्टिस आणि न्यायाला महत्व देत असताना त्यांनी सुरुवातीला महत्व दिले आहे सोशल ऑर्डर सी द ऑर्डर सोशल इकॉनॉमिक political, social, economic, and political. So the preamble places justice higher than the other principle of liberty, equality, and fraternity. So this concept of justice is very wide. It includes social, economic, political. And this is not confined to the what? Narrow legal justice uh, as administered by the courts, that is, the courts of law instance. So, law, justice as social, economic, and political, giving precedence to social and economic over political justice. So first precedence, first importance is given to the social justice, then economic justice, then political justice. And now see what is expected, what is implied here, what is most important in all this. The justice has a lot of significance, and in that area, here the social justice is comparatively more important than economic and political justice. So now we need to understand what is social justice. सामाजिक न्याय म्हणजे काय? In my understanding, social justice, in my understanding, it is prohibition of discrimination. Prohibition of discrimination. See, law has recognized certain factors, as we know, that is religion, race, caste, place of birth, place of residence, sex. All these things have been recognized. And we know very well that is that these factors, they act as unifying factor as well as divisive factors. We need to understand when we talk about religion, ज्यावेळेस आपण धर्माबद्दल बोलतो, ज्यावेळेस आपण भाषेबद्दल बोलतो, ज्यावेळेस आपण सेक्स बद्दल बोलतो, लिंग बद्दल बोलतो, प्लेस ऑफ रेसिडेन्स, प्लेस ऑफ बर्थ, या सगळ्या बाबतीबद्दल ज्यावेळेस आपण बोलतो त्यावेळेस आपल्याला एक लक्षात येते की आपण ज्यावेळेस बोलतो त्यावेळेस या गोष्टीवर आधारित ज्या काही इश्यूज असेल, या गोष्टीवर बेस्ड ऑन दीज थिंग्स, दीज फॅक्टर्स युनिफाय as well as divide us. Unifying as well. धर्माच्या नावावर आपण ज्यावेळेस बोलतो तर लोक एकत्र पण येतात आणि त्यावेळेस त्या गोष्टीमुळे लोक दूरही जातात. So these factors have divisive as well as unifying character. Unifying character. These also, on the basis of these we come together, and also we are divided on these bases. So coming together is, of course, that is one issue. But when we are divided on these bases, that is not good for the fraternity. So here the social justice, in my view, is this prohibition of discrimination. When we discriminate on the basis of these things, एका ठिकाणी जन्माला येणे, एका धर्मात जन्माला येणे, एका जाती धर्मात येणे, किंवा एखादी भाषा एका पर्टिक्युलर प्रांतामध्ये बोलणे, या गोष्टी आपल्या हातात नाहीये. या गोष्टींवर आधारित ज्यावेळेस डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होतं, सो दॅट इज सोशल इनजस्टिस. सो द prohibition of here this discrimination is social justice in my point of view. The second thing is the economic justice. Economic justice. Economic justice is nothing but bridging the gap. Bridging the gap between rich and poor, between haves and have-nots. That is economic justice. सर्वांना आपल्या आवश्यकतेनुसार राहण्यासाठी ज्या काही गोष्टी लागतात त्या उपलब्ध होणे म्हणजे इकॉनॉमिक जस्टिस. So here we find here the economic justice, in my point of view, it is nothing but bridging the gap between the poor, the rich and the poor, the haves and have nots, ज्यांच्याकडे आहे आणि ज्यांच्याकडे नाही आहे, अशा ठिकाणचं. So here we find the directive principle of the state policy wherein certain provisions are made for the economic justice. What is political justice? Political justice, that is equal share in equal share to all in the rights to participation in the political process. So here the participation, okay, the democracy as we know, of the people, for the people, by the people, that is the democracy. Here what is more important is this democracy means a government of the people, by the people. The very important thing is the government for the people. लोकांचे लोकांसाठी त्यावेळेस म्हणतो तर त्यावेळेस is that for लोकांसाठी, for the people, that is very important. So here the participation in the political process, and we every time we participate through casting our vote, right to vote, that is very precious. That is very precious. I think what is the most important thing is casting a vote to exercise the. So here the right to vote, that is very precious one. We need to exercise this right very carefully. So the participation. So political justice, this is meaningless without economic justice and social justice. And we are living in a life of contradiction. Life of contradiction. We are living in life of contradiction. विरोधाभासी असं आयुष्य आपलं. There are reasons why, because in political life, one man has one vote and it has one value. एक माणूस आहे, त्याला एक मत आहे, त्याची एक किंमत आहे in political life. But in social and economic life, one man may not have one value. So here we need to bridge the gap, whatever there in the status, in the income, and many more aspects. So in political life, we define the equality, but in social and economic life, there is no equality, or inequality is in existence. So what is needed here to be respected, to have dignified life? See, all, as we know, the justice, liberty, fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual. That is the main object of the Indian Constitution. So how to maintain, how to hold this human dignity is concerned. I think in order to exercise these human rights, one thing, the question is this: to have rights, do you have human rights? Yes, sir, I have human rights. But are you capable to exercise those human rights? No, sir. What are the reasons? The reasons is that he may not have sufficient knowledge or confidence or economic power, political power, social empowerment as such. So in order to make every individual as a capable to exercise, to make confident to exercise human rights, he must be economically empowered. So economic empowerment is needed here. And so how to empower everyone economically, and the only way that is through the education. And education is not merely formal education as such, which is imparted in the educational institutions, but on our own, we must educate ourselves. And that is in the national education policy, this is very well labeled, branded as self-education. Self-education, we have to learn our own to solve our daily problems. So education is nothing but it is a tool to solve our human problems. So I think that is a education which is a tool for the economic empowerment to exercise here the to exercise the human rights, whatever here recognized by the UDHR and by our legal system. The importance of laws, rights, justice, that is discussed in the concept of rule of law. There are two systems, as I talked about. We are governed by two systems. One is rule of law and another is rule of man. Under the rule of law, according to A.V. Dicey, we find here the supremacy of law. Law is supreme. There is principle of equality, and here the rights are protected. Or we can say the supremacy of the judiciary, whatever the rights are protected by the here the judiciary. Judiciary acts as the protector and guardian of the fundamental rights. And in rule of man, in rule of land, we do find here certain people are supreme. Law is not supreme. There is no equality, absence of equality, inequality as such. So we need to understand that when there is the law, then and then only we can expect here the justice. Justice is nothing but here the harmonization of interest. Everyone would be entitled with whatever due to him. So the preambular assurance of the dignity of the individual, the preambular assurance of the dignity of the individual, which is the basic principle of the UDHR. जे काही भारतीय संविधानाने एक assurance दिलेलं आहे थ्रू प्रस्तावनेमधून human dignity बद्दल, that is the basic principle of the UDHR. UDHR चं ते एक मूलभूत मूलतत्व आहे, and which is sought to be implemented through various provisions of Part 3 and Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. So that is, there are many more things which are common between the UDHR and the rights provided under the Indian Constitution. So all these things, legal system, laws, justice, courts, and we, the people, we here, the law students and here the law teachers, when they come together to have these rights, to exercise these rights, I think this would be the real celebration of the Human Rights Day. So the whole responsibility is on ourselves, on every individual. We need to educate ourselves. We need to be independent to exercise these fundamental rights or the human rights as such. So we need to practice the principles of human rights. We need to profess, we need to propagate these human rights. These human rights in our own life. When you expect that I must be treated in the dignified ways, we have certain human duties as well. So the rights and the duties, they go hand in hand. We need to what? Respect the others. Then we are entitled to ask for our right to dignity as such. We have to practice these human rights in our family, in our society. So that is not the enforcement of the fundamental right. It is not the sole duty or obligation on the part of the government, but it is the everyone's duty, human duty, to respect the human rights of the others. With this, I thank the organizers, here the principal, Dr. C.M. Rao sir, Dr. Kotapalle ma'am, Dr. More sir, Dr. Kolte sir, and all the teachers who have provided me this opportunity to share my views on this auspicious day, that is International Human Rights Day 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this brainstorming session filled with abundance of knowledge. The way you drag our attention towards these three prominent words, dignity, freedom, and justice, and making us think about each of them. I'm sure it is going to be great for all, and it was pleasure for all of us to attend this session live one-on-one with you. Moving ahead, I just have a note for all the participants that a feedback link is shared in the chat box below. All the participants are requested to kindly go through the feedback link and fill the feedback form. Proceeding ahead, I would like to invite S.N. More sir, Vice Principal, to kindly deliver the presidential address.
I hope I am audible to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Naresh Waghmare, sir, Professor of Law, Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune. Our respected Principal, Dr. C.M. Rao, sir, the coordinator of this lecture and Aviskar Research Club, our sister, Dr. Kotapalle Madam, all the participants, teachers, and student brothers and sisters. I am very happy to hear Waghmare sir's lecture on dignity, freedom, and justice for all. Sir, I congratulate you for delivering this wonderful lecture, and really, I am highly impressed due to your thoughts, which we have expressed on this very important topic, that is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. Dr. Waghmare sir have tried to correlate these human rights with the philosophy of our constitution, that is the preamble of our constitution. And he had very good expression, thoughts, and his comment on this topic. He had started his lecture from fundamental right compared with human right, through the journey of preamble, justice, and he had given very good definition for the justice, that is prohibition of discrimination. He had also covered in his lecture fraternity and the related issues, focusing on the democracy, government for the people, and he had highlighted very good grave concern area of the present time, that is relating to one man, one vote, one value. Sir, I remember Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's quotation in the Constituent Assembly, particularly on which you have delivered your thought, that on 26 January 1950, he says, politically we will have equality, but socially and economically we will not have the equality. And he had given that alert to the Constituent Assembly also, that we require to harmonize this all competing interests. That we have to see the interests of those people who are economically and socially suffered in this Indian society. So you have delivered this very good lecture. At the same time, I always remember Mahatma Phule when I think about the human right. Mahatma Phule, in his Sarvajanik Satya Dharma Pustak, before 6 decades of the Declaration of Human Rights, he had given 33 rules of the devotees or votaries of his universal religion of truth. And the very first rule Mahatma Phule have given, that all men and women are by birth equal. And they are equally entitled for all the human rights. So this was the modern thought in the mind of Mahatma Phule before 6 decades of our Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. And he have very rightly correlated these different kind of the thoughts talking on the present issues. I also believe that the issue of dignity, freedom, justice have very grave concern today also. Because whatever is going on in the Indian society, and when we open our eyes and see toward these all issues, so it exhibit the concern of this dignity, freedom, and justice. What I believe is that for the protection of human rights, no doubt the state is responsible, government is responsible. But I have little question in my mind that whether everybody treat himself as a human being, consider himself as human being. Because for meager gain, many people are sacrificing their dignity, freedom, and these basic human rights. So I'll appeal to the all audience that first our responsibility is to treat ourselves human being and then agitate for the enforcement of the human rights which are available to us. So again, I'll take this opportunity to congratulate you all for celebrating this Human Right Day, International Human Right Day at our college. And again, I congratulate our speaker, Dr. Waghmare sir, for delivering this wonderful lecture to the student of MP Law College, organizing college. I am thankful to the organizer for giving this opportunity to me for concluding this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Marching towards the end of today's online lecture and concluding the same, I here invite Ms. Ambika Datta ma'am, faculty at MP Law College, to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Nathan. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on the occasion of Human Rights Day. First and foremost, I express my deep sense of gratitude to the guest of honor, Dr. Naresh Waghmare, the Professor of Law, affiliated to Savitribai Phule, Pune University. Thank you, sir, for such unfolding explanation and understanding about the three concepts of dignity, freedom, and justice. I also express my heartfelt thanks to the IQAC and Avishka Research Club coordinator, Dr. Aparna Kattapalli ma'am, for a welcoming address and introduction to the event, which is very committing and which is very in-depth. Moreover, I extend my sincere thanks to the Vice Principal, Sri Krishan More sir, for an in-depth and insightful welcoming address. Moreover, I extend my sincere thanks also to the MLNG societies, all the respectable members, our principal, CM Rao sir, and all the organizing committee members, those who are directly or indirectly related to this event. I won't miss to say that I am also thankful to Netal and Tejaswani for playing their responsible role with sincerity. Finally, a big thank you to all the participants as well as the students without whom this occasion would have been incomplete. Finally, the occasion of the Human Rights Day is the day to enkindle the awareness that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for these words. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to everyone for joining us, and especially to Naresh sir for guiding us so well with abundance of knowledge. Thank you, everyone. Here we end our today's online lecture. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.